Hello again, in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. I'm grateful to all of you who follow me here, and if you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new, my name is Nicholas, and on my channel I talk about witchcraft, paganism, self-love, and all matter of false, occult and spiritual topics. I also do readings on the channel, so if you're interested in those type of things, you know what to do. Please subscribe, join this amazing community, and click the bell icon to be notified each time I post a new video. And I'd be grateful to have you here because this is a safe place if you're a practicing witch, Wiccan, pagan, or you're on a spiritual journey or path, or you're interested in personal growth, development, self-love, manifestation, spell work, magic. This is a safe place for all that, and I share my knowledge, my experiences, and I share my knowledge about crystals, plants, tarot, and also just my experiences as well. And my intention with this channel is to dispel the misconceptions about witchcraft and spirituality, and to talk about it in a sort of down-to-earth way as well. But today I'm going to talk about the types of people that say these types of things, what you should be aware of. So again, the occult, the word occult is a beautiful word, and it's an umbrella term which describes a variety of different things. So anything to do with like symbolism, ritualism, anything to do with like magic, witchcraft, and also the occult just describes a wide range of topics. Anything metaphysical, or that is under the umbrella of the occult, and the occult covers so many different spiritual and metaphysical topics. Being in an occult is not a good thing, because being in an occult means that everyone's got to follow the leader. It's a very toxic group, and you've got an individual that wants to control people either for money or for their own power, and because they've got a fragile ego. And the ego can be there's good things about your ego, but the ego can also be, if someone, the ego can like give you confidence, give you a boost, and it can be good, the ego, to work with, but the ego's also got the ego can also bring about your downfall, if you're not careful, so again, it's like you can't destroy your shadow self, you can't destroy the ego, but you can work with it, and sometimes the ego can be healthy. But, if someone's ego's that big and they get out of touch with reality, then their ego is not good. And when you're on a spiritual path, it's so important to stay grounded, to remember that you are a human being. Yes, you're a spiritual being, and a body, you're having a spiritual experience. But when people start to forget that they're human, but they're having a human journey, a human life, problems start to thing. So if an individual, that individual could be online, they could be online, they could be on social media, have a big social media presence, people may look up to an individual. But if an individual is saying that they're the second coming of Christ, or they are all powerful and all knowing, right, let's stop it there. That person, stop listening to them and run for the hills, because individuals like that are very dangerous, because an individual that's saying these types of things, they're saying it to either influence people, to get their ego boosted, and they've got a fragile ego, and this individual's lost touch with reality, because, Christ, the individual that was Christ, has came and gone. And I would, I'll talk about that in later videos, about my perspective on, like, the second coming of Christ. I'll talk about that in later videos, but from my perspective, I would really say there's no, Christ came to the earth. It was a teacher, a mentor. He taught people things, and his teachings and things like that will live on, and he's a spiritual being that will live on, but he's not coming back in a physical human form, from my perspective. And again, there's some things that Jesus said that were so controversial, the church didn't like it, so they ripped it up, or they kept it closed. But really, Jesus talked about how everyone can become Christ, and then like Christ consciousness, which is another kettle of fish. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, and I really feel that in my heart and gut as well, there's no second coming of Christ. If you want to believe that there's going to be a second coming of Christ, that's all well and good. But I would say if anyone says that the second coming of Christ, or that, you know, they're all powerful, or they're all knowing, no one knows everything, you know, no one knows everything. That is an individual. So if someone's saying those types of things, you want to be wary of them. I would say also be wary of what someone's trying to sell you. You know, sometimes you'll have occult leaders that know what people are lost, people are not in a good place in their lives, so these occult leaders want to take advantage of people. Again, it could be they want to take advantage of people for money, they want to take advantage for people to get, you know, to get followers, to, because they feel so, if they've got people following them, because they're in a place of psychosis, you know, a spiritual psychosis or some type of psychosis, this individual, for whatever reason, and them having people under their thumb, under their control, makes them feel more powerful than what they actually are. So again, there'll be people that will try and say, if you follow me, I'll give you this knowledge and you can live forever. If someone's trying to sell you but you can live forever, you know, I'd rather shine to run away. I'd rather shine to run away from someone if they're telling you that you can live forever. You know, you're a human, you live for a certain time, you learn your lessons, you die, and then you return to the spirit world. And from my perspective, you are reincarnated. Some people believe you return to the spirit world, but at the end of the day, you live your human life and you learn your lessons. And you know, there are many people who try and sell that, but you can become immortal. But I'd be very, very, you know, wary of people trying to sell you that. Also, like, you're not a god. You're not a god, you're a human being. Each and every one of us are human beings. But there will be people that will try and sell you that, but if you follow me, you can become a god like me, type of thing. Also another sign to be wary of somebody, because they're trying to sell you that. Or if an individual says that they're all powerful, they're all powerful, all knowing, and if you follow me, you can become all powerful and knowing. They're trying to sell you something, so be very, very wary of that individual. You know, especially if they're saying things like that, grand claims like that. Because they're just trying to exploit your insecurities and trying to, you know, sell you and that as well. So, and also, we're all spiritual beings having the human experience, okay, and we can all connect with the gods, with spirit, but if someone says to you, what they're, for talking's sake, like, I work with Goddess Hecate, right, lots of people love Goddess Hecate, lots of people work with Goddess Hecate, and they talk to Goddess Hecate, and she does communicate with them, you know, because being a medium means you've got one foot in this world, but one foot in the spirit world and other spiritual realms. But if someone says to you, but there, for example, if I was to say to you, but I would never say that, but if I was to say to you, I'm the only true voice of Goddess Hecate, if I was to say that to you, well, I wouldn't say that. I'm just one voice of many, because Sarah, the divination witch, wonderful and amazing person to listen to, and a wonderful person to learn from, she also loves Goddess Hecate just as much as I do, and she also is a voice of Goddess Hecate, a child of Hecate, just like me. And when it comes to children of Hecate, there are many people, but if someone was to say they're the only true voice of, let's say, Odin, or they're the only true voice of this god or deity, another shine to get yourself out there and run, you know. Or if someone say they were the only true voice of Jesus, for talking's sake, another shine to run, because, you know, that's just someone who is blinded by, you know, we're all special, but no one's more special than anyone else. No one's better than anyone else. We're all at different levels in life. But there will be people that are so out of touch with reality, and because you're lonely, you're not in a good place in your life, they want to take advantage of you. And by you following them and doing what they want you to, by believing what they're telling you to do, and being them taking advantage of that, makes them feel better, or that. I think sign number 4 would be money. You know, yes, money is something we need to survive, we need to live. Some organisations do need money, but they explain what that money's for and why they need money. But you know, some people get involved with occult and organisations, and it's like all your money belongs to that organisation or belongs to the leader, and you've got, you know, your very survival depends on that leader, and that's a very toxic environment, because it's like you don't have any money to yourself. Your whole life savings, any money you have, is going to that dictator or leader, you know. And yes, like one fellowship with, but it's self-supported. It's like and the fellowship of people do pay money, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money, and it's optional how much money you put in. But everyone, there's a wee bowl in or a jar, and everyone puts money in it, what they can afford, and that money like pays for teas, biscuits, and sometimes some of that money pays for the accommodation. But at the end of the day, everyone in the fellowship supports themselves. It's you know, the money what every member gives, and they give what they can, supports the fellowship itself. So there's that. That's not a bad thing. But there's some organisations out there where you get occult leaders and they just really want to make money off people, so they're just wanting to exploit people for money. Now, another thing, talking about like money side of things, is there are people that do psychic readings out there. I'm just one of many, and there's many genuine good psychics, and I would say I'm just one of many who is genuine. But at the end of the day, they're, you know, that you know what you're getting with a psychic reading, you know, because the psychic reader will explain what services they do and what prices they charge for the service, you know, and you get to decide if you want a reading from that person and you're willing to pay that price. But there are some people out there that are in the psychic world, but they're not genuine. They're in our community, but they're not genuine. They're fraudsters, they're con people, and they may be online, they may be in person, and they charge ridiculous amounts of money people can't afford for one reading. And that could be, because I remember a good friend of mine, but we've not seen each other in a long time. I remember she was online and she saw a psychic reader, and he said he would tell her aura and give her a good reading, but what he wanted for that was £1,000. And as a psychic reader myself, I thought that was a ridiculous amount of money for one person to pay to find out what their aura was, and, you know, or what their energy field said about them. I thought that was ridiculous. And that is, you know, you have to watch with that. You know, you have to watch with that. But at the end of the day, that is another sign. But, you know, because there'll be people who will say, give me all your money, put your whole life and your faith into me. That's another sign, you know, somebody you should walk away from. Sign number 5 would be they don't want you to think for yourself, and they don't want you to believe. Now, a good teacher would explain why they do things the way they do. They would explain the methods, the techniques, and they'd let you believe. They'd let you find out what you believe. They'd let you think for yourself. But a dogmatic leader or an occult type of leader, because you never want to be in an occult type of thing. You never want to be in that, because it's good to study the occult, but being in an occult, which is where you get a dogmatic leader who's telling everyone how to live their lives, that is a very toxic environment, and you don't want to be part of that. But at the end of the day, that is another way. If someone's telling you must believe what I believe, you must think the way I think, that is someone trying to control you and control your life. So again, these are some signs. If people say these things to you, so if you're walking a spiritual path and you're interested, now you will meet, when you're on a spiritual path, you will meet some wonderful like-minded people what are wonderful, what are on a similar journey or the exact same journey as you. But you'll also meet people when you're at the beginning, or maybe you're not at the beginning, you're more advanced in your practice, but it can still happen to you when you're more advanced. You know, you can still run into the wrong people, and people can say the wrong things to you, and you can be quick to trust someone or quick to believe what hearing, and that's why it's so important to do your research, and it's so important to find out, to think for yourself, and it's so important to find out what you believe as well. And again, if anyone says these types of things to you, you should be very wary of them, because we're all powerful, but no one's more powerful than anyone else. You know, we've all got the power to practice magic, we've all got the power to connect with spirit, we've all got the power to do manifestation and spell work, because we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. But at the end of the day, no one's better than anyone else, no one's more important, we're all at different levels. But again, these are just some signs that you should be aware of as well, because unfortunately some individuals will, because they've reached a stage of psychosis, or they're very blinded by their path, because you get a lot of people who are very zealous, they're blinded by their path, they think because what they're doing is right and true for them, but therefore it must be right and true for everyone, and that is simply not the reality. So these are some signs, but if anyone says these things to you, stop listening and run away as well. So until next time, as always, giving you food for thought, sharing knowledge with you, and I think there's lots of tips and red flags to look out for. And if these are red flags, you know, if someone's saying that the second coming of Christ, they're all knowing, all powerful, or they're the only true voice of the god Odin, or something like that, these are just red flags showing you that there's people out there who will say these types of things to you, and you should be very wary of them as well. And that's why I say always make sure you're staying safe, you know, because I really mean that, you know, and this channel is a place where I'm trying to, there's red flags, there are things to watch out there are dangers. That's why I say always stay safe, and I really mean that, stay safe, because there are people that don't want you to grow, that don't want to help you. There's people that claim they want to help you, they want you to grow and all that jazz, but in reality they just want to take advantage of you. They don't want you to grow or be happy, they just want to take advantage. So be wary of people like that. And these are some of the things that occult leaders or delusional people that are trying to corrupt you and make you follow them say to you. So, and again, being forewarned is being forearmed. So that's my attempt in this video, but these are things that dogmatic, or people that say these types of things, what you should avoid at all costs. You should run away from them, stop listening to them, avoid them. And I'm making this video to raise awareness, because there are dangers when you're on a spiritual path or a spiritual journey, because not everyone wants you to grow or be happy, or that there's people want to take advantage of you in life. And sadly, I've experienced that as well, and I've been through that where people have wanted to take advantage. I've never been in a cult situation, but I have experienced being took advantage of, and you know, it's not a nice feeling, it's not nice to happen. So again, all these videos I do, it's to share knowledge, it's to help people as well. And also it's part of my calling, because I love God's Hecate, and I've worked with other gods and they've helped me, but God's Hecate is one of the gods that really helped me find my calling in life as well. So until next time, stay safe, and I really mean that, stay safe, stay wise, stay magical, and for those of you who are practicing witches like me, stay witchy, blessed be.